Hello, good evening. Welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 11, Round 12. It is the very last regular season race in Cup Series history.
Gotcha.
It is the very last Tuesday race in Cup, and it's just anything. You're never seeing us again on a Tuesday. That's just it. We're binning off Tuesdays after this, so enjoy this while it lasts. And yes, we are here to decide basically our final two drivers to qualify for the playoffs. We already have 8 out of our 10 qualified. We'll talk about them throughout qualifying and the race. And yeah, there's 2 more places to be decided here in Austria, the home of regular season finales. And we're looking forward to, well, our 11th run round here in wet conditions here for qualifying, which could shake things up. We'll find out. I'm your commentator Owen Wyatt. With me, I have got Jacko, and obviously you're pleased this is the last Tuesday. Are we looking forward to this one?
Hope so. Good evening, everybody. I mean, the rain is a promising start at the very least. Corey on pad as well after his amputation of one of his legs. So, you know, all is looking good for potentially, hopefully, a good race, but I'm going to say no more than that. And you sort of briefly touched on it as well. Home of the regular season finale, Austria. It has hosted all bar one of the finales. The other one coming in, I don't know where. I'll have to find out for you.
I was going to say, even I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I know. I might have even made something up.
You could well have made that up.
I have the answer immediately.
Yes.
It is... Yes, Season 9, Mexico.
Oh, that's rubbish.
That was the only time Austria has not hosted a regular season finale. But of course, the finale is irrelevant. There's a battle for second, really. Jake versus Johannes. Yori's guaranteed for fourth, and of course, Corey has already won the regular season title.
Yes, he won that with his 5th race win of the season last Thursday in Austin for the USA short race. And he's 25 points ahead now of Jake and Johannes, who are both on 150. Obviously, Corey's on 175. You can only score, 20 points in a race, so that's not going to be caught up, the gap to Corey. So for a man who's won here before, he doesn't need to win here again. Thank goodness. But we are here to see the end of the regular season. Like we say, there's 8 drivers who are qualified for the playoffs already. And those drivers are Corey, of course, Johannes, Jake, Arnoud, Yuri. They are our 5 race winners. The other 3 are in on points. They're Jimmy Wright, Kieran Spears and Ben Shaw. So that's our 8. Fighting to get in are still Gareth Hall and Pete Knight, and they are in the top 10 as it stands. And then outside we've got Mike Kettleborn and Sullivan Lewis, so you can both get in on points. Everyone else, Ben Harrett, Baza, Leroy, Florian, Okeke, Robin, Dustin and Matt Lester all have to go for must-wins, and I know we're missing a driver tonight, so someone may already be out. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that throughout the race. Our best chance of seeing someone sort of disrupt the order would be Mike Kettleborn, because he is one of our jokers tonight, and we will see how he gets on. But we are currently watching Dustin, I believe, on his out lap, so we'll take you for a round here in a track which is pretty much about as long as USA Short, actually, as we discovered last week here in the Red Bull Ring. A lot easier to get your head round though, as up towards turn 1 we come. We're right on board. We've been here 3 times before on F1 2020, and I've seen a lot of drivers take that first corner a hell of a lot quicker than that. That was a very early braking point. Perhaps Dustin's struggling now for a little bit of confidence as we see Ben Harrett. Presumably, it's not him who's put that in the wall. I think I'm just going to cut round to see if Robin did. Robin has put that in the wall in his out lap, but hopefully Ben will be back soon as Dustin comes around. We have had 3 qualifying sessions here, one of which was in the wet, and that was in Season 3's end of regular season race. Obviously we raced here twice in Season 3, once at the end of regular season and then again for the Championship 5. on that regular season race, again, wet qualifying, it was a 1 minute 11.490 set by Khalifa. That was the pole position time for people to try and beat today. I don't think Dustin's going to get anywhere near it. You can see how much he's struggling. I've never seen the rear end of a car move about so much. But as he comes through the final two corners, again at a bit of a snail's pace, I don't think he'll disagree with me, as he can't even keep it on line through the corner. He was diving into that corner early. Just no confidence there as he goes only on a 1 minute 14 dead.
Yep, it is. However, P1 for now at least, Owen. So we have a benchmark, no less, a valid lap, which we'll be thankful for. You mentioned Robin spinning on his out lap. He's doing his best not to do so on his hot lap. But Michael Okeke come out the pits and did exactly the same thing as Robin. So both of these guys going around with half a front wing on their cars. Of course, no Matt Lester tonight as well, so we are looking at a 19-car grid. We are watching the scrubs at the back of the field at the minute, whilst we... never mind, there you go. As we warm up to the fast guys later on. We are going to be slightly interested in Corey. I mean, I hope he doesn't win, because that would be boring. But, of course... back in the day, you may recall, he was never allowed to race full time when he was on pad because he was too fast. So now we are 5 years down the road. Is he still fast, or has everybody caught up? That's going to be the question tonight, as Michael Okeke continues to just about keep it valid, having the same problems as Robin did out of turn... Is it turn 4 or turn 2? It's turn 2, isn't it? This is turn 4. Officially. But
yeah, officially.
Yeah. So yeah, the interest will be on Corey later on. Let's see what Michael can do. Of course, the 1 minute 14 to beat, and that's so awfully understeery, isn't it?
It's just...
I don't think he's going to get near the pole time.
Yeah, it's impossible to drive in these conditions. Obviously, you mentioned as well Corey. I don't know if Corey was on a pad when he raced here in Season 3, actually. And maybe he was, but he did win. And it obviously was a wet qualifying, so... He can definitely win here, but there's also races like season 4 or 5 where he took everyone out into turn 3. So you can you can have a bit of contrasting form for Corey. But yes, he's one of 3 different race winners we've had here on F1 2020. Season 2's race was won by Sullivan Lewis, who we will see later on in the race, or in the qualifying session and in the race as we watch Leroy at the moment. And then season 3's Championship 5 was obviously won by Khalifa from 16th on the grid on that day. So yeah, you can win from anywhere here, but yeah, and Corey obviously the other winner when we raced here for the end of the regular season in season 3, as we see Florian. Completely forgot he existed, no offence to him, but I completely missed him on that. Our other joker tonight, he's gone fastest, so sorry about that. We went straight to Leroy then, but that's Florian going fastest. That's completely my fault. Apologies, he's gone 1/10 faster. Oh dear.
About to be toppled by Leroy, just about though. 1 minute 12. I think you pointed it out as well, Florian, the other joker. We want Mike to cause an upset, but we also want Florian to have a go as well. Why not? In this final regular season race. And as I look at the sky, still on board with Leroy, it looks like the clouds are getting ever so slightly darker. But then you look behind him and they're getting a little bit brighter. So this quali session could go either way just yet. It is over to Bazza to complete the final part of this lap. Lobby host, 2-second head start. Every race doesn't ever utilise it.
Of course not.
Where will he put himself? And of course, fresh from the toilet after having a poo about 10 minutes ago. But we thank Bazza once again for doing a solid job, if you'll pardon the pun, hosting these lobbies every week. Here he comes then round the final corner and up to the line. Where does Barry go? P2, good lap. And we will move on to Ben Harrott, providing he has rejoined the lobby. I think he has. Owen Wyatt.
Indeed, he has. He left early on, but he's had time to come back. And Ben Harrott is the highest driver in the championship, who is currently on a must-win situation. Like I said, along with 8 other drivers, one of which is Matt Lester, who's not here. But yes, Ben Harrott on 48 points. He's just a wee bit far away from where he needs to be. With P9 on 74, so yes, he's a must-win, because of course win and you're in. It's always worked like that. We have seen it happen here before. Like I said, we mentioned Sullivan Lewis in season 2 with a lot of help from Pete Knight, it has to be said, in that day. But we also saw Tez Peakstock just... I mean, we knew he had pace as Ben Harrett loses
Harrett's
it
in the
and
wall.
puts it in the wall. But yes, we did see a must-win converted from Tez Peakstock here in, what, season 5 or 6. So it can happen. So even if that's gone wrong for Ben Harrett, it's never over until the checkered flag flies. But we will move on to see the man who did win here in season 2, as he comes around the final corner, and he will cross the line, not to go fastest, but he should go second here. Risky. Sullivan Lewis.
That's a shame, actually, because I was about to say he's the first of the capable drivers that we've seen tonight, and he's gone slower than Leroy. So we shall move on very swiftly, shall we, to the second of two jokers. Mike Kelterborn nearly won this race, didn't he? Oh, in season 1 or 2, was it? Obviously fell apart for him on that day. I think it was a safety car.
It was a safety car, wasn't
weather
it?
that ruined it for him.
Weather in the safety car, I do recall. I forget which season it was as well, but it definitely cost him on that day. But he's on a joker this time, so maybe if he can just keep everything moving, this could be his day.
Favourable stage laps as well. I think it's lap 27, so that means everyone can pit from lap 28 onwards. Mike can pit whenever he wants, as long as it's after lap 3. Up to the line he comes in. It won't be pole, it's P3 for now. But that completes the first 9 drivers. It's now the top 10, the playoff drivers, if you will. Peter Knighton is the first of those. Of course, is he trying to get into the chase? It would require quite a big point swing in favour of Mike. But he started the season so strong, and he's just fell away. Still remains in the top 10 though. And maybe today is the day he breaks that streak, Owen. Do you know the number? You should do by now.
Oh, what is it, 172, 173, something like that?
Oh, 173.
Yeah.
173 without return for Pete Knighton, as he only goes third fastest.
Worth pointing out that in the season 2 race, Sully actually was like 6th before his penalties got taken off, which meant that Pete actually was classed as P1 as he drives past a car with the exact same livery as him, bar slightly more purpley tint to his blue, which is going to be fun to try and keep an eye on. I wonder who that is. We'll find out. Maybe that's Yuri. Oh no, actually they're all running the same template speed drivers, aren't they? So it's all just their own signature colour. Gareth Hall's is sort of orangey red, isn't it? But yes, Pete, he was actually P1 at the end of that race in season 2, but obviously he's done a lot of help to help his teammate, and suddenly got his penalties taken off. Just for pointing that out, really, because it proves he's got some sort of pace here, Pete. So I'd be surprised if he ends up in the chase at the end of this, but we'll find out. I'd also be surprised if Gareth Hall stumbles into the chase, because no matter how much he tries, he just has too much speed as he goes second, which is where, of course, he qualified on the Thursday. So we'll see how he gets on. Move on to Yuri now, who's in red.
Yeah, of course, Gareth will tell you he can't help being as good as he is. Of course, he also can't help how bad everybody is below him in the standings. That's a league issue, not a Gareth issue. But Yuri Hasellager picked up his first Cup Series win here. Got a lot of stick for winning a load of races in the Kia Series, but never being able to do it on the big stage. And then he turned up to Austria in, what was it, dickhead, season 5. I was giving him the build-up and everything. Went and won it that day. Then he's won another one since, as well as another Kia Series title. But it'll be P19 and no better as we look ahead to the start of the race for Yuri Hasellager. We'll move on to Ben Shaw. He's never done anything round here, is he? I don't think he's ever won Austria in any league. But maybe a pole position. He is trying to get the poles record back off of Khalifa.
Looks like he's quick so far. I don't think I've seen anyone hitting a 49 in the middle sector. And of course it's him running the purple. I really should have been able to guess that, really, as we saw him before. But anyway, as he comes through the final 2 corners, the rain's still looking relatively light. I don't expect it to stop. I hope it doesn't stop, because we want to see an equal playing field as Ben Shaw goes to within a tenth of Khalifa's pole time here from season 3. And you'd expect that to stay at the top, to be honest. It's a very strong lap. Although, next up, Kieran in yellow, very much got pace round here as well. He's about half a second down on where Ben Shaw was, but if he can keep the car in a straight line through here, he may be on for a decent lap. I believe he might have got his first podium in the league here in Season 3, but I'm not 100% sure. It was certainly a surprise when he got that podium, but as he comes around the final corner, it won't be a surprise to see him up there because, of course, he's a champion now. Crossing the line, he does go second.
It still hurts to say that, doesn't it? He's a champion.
It's
that special day in Miami. 100 Cup Series races.
Special, certainly a way to describe it.
Yeah, we had good fun filming that one, and it was ruined by Kieran winning it all. Here's Jamie Wright.
He's quick.
Matches Ben Shaw's 49. This could be very, very good then. Let's stay on board with Jamie Wright. Of course, previously in the league, he has had 16 poles to his name. 19 wins, 2 Cup Series titles. He's on the grass as he comes to the line. P1 for Jamie Wright. Can he stay there with 3 minutes to go in qualifying? It's Tony Kirkpatrick next up, who's replacing Arnaud de Grief tonight. He's a little bit wide through turn 6, but Owen Wyatt, can he put himself in amongst the big boys and the big names?
Well, he is certainly a big name, as we see Yuri binning it on his in-lap. That's not going to affect Tony's run, though, through the final corner. And with the run through the grass for Jamie Wright, this pulls up for grabs. And into the 1:10s. Incredible stuff for Tony. And that is a very, very strong time. Could any of our top 3 get anywhere near that? We've caught Johannes at the start of his middle sector, so we'll get to see him we'll get to see him nearly put it into the grass himself. That looked like it had no grip whatsoever. I'm amazed by how little grip they have around here at the moment.
Yeah, and he was deep into turn 3 as well, so I think he's going to be way off the pace, and he's struggling out of turn 4 still. But Johannes, he hasn't won in JACKOCAR now for about 6 weeks, and he started the season so promising, so strong. Couple of wins to his name. He was the man. Corey has taken that crown as we've gone through the regular season. Yellow flags are flying for one of the cars that's gone off the track, but 2 corners to go for Johannes. Can he get his name in purple and take pole position here in Austria ahead of Tony? He struggles through the final corner. Over the line, it's only P5. Jake O'Sullivan next.
We're catching a lot of these laps here, which is nice. Corey's only about halfway around his outlap, so we'll see plenty of his too. But as we see Jake coming through turn 3, there's an opportunity for him here. You can see how much he's sliding on the exit, but they're all doing that really, aren't they? It's fascinating to watch it on the off-board shots, because every time they come through turn 5, they are always sideways. Let's ride on board this time. Let's see what it's actually like on board as the drivers try to pick up the throttle. And it doesn't look too bad on board, does it? That's one of the better runs we've seen through turn 5. But Jake, very much ignoring the apex in 6, and you can see how much that affects him. He's about 4/10 down on where Tony was, and didn't look particularly quick through 7 and 8 as well. Really struggling to keep the car in a straight line. These are very difficult conditions here. I do wonder if they're running dry setups as well. I'm expecting this to be a dry race, because if they're going to be driving like this in the wet in the race, no one's going to get to the checker flag. Look at this drifting around the final corner as Jake goes only P4. It's all down to Corey Dalton now on his pad.
Yeah,
I think he's
Corey
slow.
Dalton. He is 1/3 of the way through this lap already. You didn't see it on camera. I did. He went wide at turn 1, and he's going to be a good 10 seconds or so off the pace here.
Well,
Let's just
10,
see him as he...
surely not
maybe not 10. It's nice to exaggerate. It's nice to dream, and it's 1.5 seconds off the pace, though. Corey Dalton, 5 race wins this season, 16 all-time as he hunts down the all-time wins record held by Jake O'Sullivan, who you've just seen him. 20 wins for him, 19 for Jamie Wright, 18 for Khalifa, 16 for Corey Dalton. He straightens the car up. Is it going to be anywhere near? It's P8. We have a chance of a good race here in Austria as Tony Kirkpatrick takes pole position.
Our Jokers currently in 12th and 14th, so we'll see how they get on in the race as well, because they will be a big factor, especially Mike Kelterborn. But yes, it is Tony on pole. A very impressive time, over half a second quicker than Khalifa's last time here in the intermediate conditions, the 1:11.49. Absolutely demolished. The 2 dry pulls here, in case you're interested, were from Splinter in Season 2 with a 1 minute 3.408, and then Arnold in the Championship 5 of Season 3 with a 1 minute 3.286. So it wasn't actually that much improvement in the times in that sort of year gap that we had between those two races. But here, you've certainly seen the difference in 5 years. Tony on pole, Jimmy Wright, Ben Shaw, Jake, Kieran, Johannes, Leroy, Corey, Gareth, and Risky, the top 10. Pete in 11th, Mike, like we say, keep an eye on him from 12th, Baz at 13th, Florian again, eye on him, Joker 14th, and Dustin, OKK, and Ben Harrett were the last drivers to set lap times. Robin and Yuri, both invalid.
Well done. We tried to make that exciting at the end there, didn't we?
I don't know why.
Just trying to manifest a good race.
We're practicing for when we have a really exciting race. You know, you got to just get into the flow of these things, haven't you?
You never know. It might just happen. Stages today, they come at the end of laps 17 and 27. Everyone must pit between 3 and 27 for the first one to count, or they can carry on and do 2 in the second part of the race. That's lap 28 onwards. Standard JACKOCAR rules potentially for the last time as we look to spice it up for the playoffs, but who knows. 2 jokers, as Owen White tells you, and not a lot on the line. The drivers were given the message earlier. There's nothing to play for here. This race is a formality. Stewards will turn a blind eye to quotation marks most things, so they've been given freedom to race. So hopefully we get a little bit of drama or JACKOCAR controversy. Do you remember the good old days when every race had a bit of something to it?
Yeah.
Somebody was unhappy, you know.
I mean, they're still unhappy. They're still unhappy. Nothing will stop them being unhappy about something. Corey once again reminding the Twitter chat, oh, we should change the rules. We should change the rules. How dare someone win? You've won 5 races in the regular season. We're bored of you. You'll win this one as well.
That may even be a record 5 regular season wins. I will come back to you, Owen.
We could be sat here at the end of this with a driver winning half of the races of the regular season. Can you believe what's happened to this league? As we start the formation lap, it will take a lot for Corey Dalton to win this from 8th on the grid. But like we said, we have seen drivers win from low here in the past, and we had Season 2's win. I think Sully was right at the back, possibly even, you know, in the bottom positions. Maybe not last exactly, but he won from behind. Khalifa won here from 16th before. We have seen drivers come through in the past. So 8th is not that much of a challenge, is it really, when you look at it that way? And
hello,
no
Alan.
one... Hello?
Hello. The record for most wins in a regular season, sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to forget this, is Season 2. Kyle Smith got 5, so Corey has matched the record. He can beat it if he wins tonight, so let's hope he doesn't.
And Season 2 was a great season after the regular season. So there you go. We have had a driver win half of the races in a regular season. It has happened then. We're just going to point out, you can see the tyres here on the formation lap. We've got a 50-50 split of softs and mediums. I say 50-50 split. I mean, we've got 10 on softs, 9 on mediums, but who's counting? We get this because obviously it was a wet qualifying, so everyone has free tyre choice. Top 3 all on mediums, then 5 softs, 2 mediums, 1 soft, 2 mediums, 2 softs, 1 medium, 2 softs, and a medium. So yeah, relatively well spaced out. And we'll see strategies from that. Interestingly, Florian, who's just got disqualified from the formation lap along with Robin, he starts on softs, so he'll be making a relatively early stop. Possibly to hards. This is the question we're going to ask. Are we going to end up being forced to see a soft to hard strategy? Will soft to mediums work? Obviously, for the guys having to make 2 stops, it'll be most likely medium soft soft, or soft medium soft, or, you know, no hards basically, and hopefully 1 set of mediums. The tyres don't really wear massively around here. You'll see the odd puncture, but on a 2 stop it should be fine. I mean, if it gets safety cars, the 1 stop should be fine too. But we have 19 cars in position, and we have 5 red lights for the last time in the regular season. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing here in Austria. And it's a decent start from Jamie Wright. Will he risk this up the inside of Tony into turn 1? Yes, he will, and he takes the lead. And he felt like he should have been on pole position. He now leads the race. The car off at turn 1. Ben Harrett lost half of his front wing. And now we've got, looks like Ben Shaw up into second place. But what about Jake O'Sullivan trying to lick up the inside? And there's Kieran going around his outside. And Tony holding on to second place. The outside line working better than the inside line into turn 3. Corey up to P7. He's fighting away down. We've got Jake having a look on Kieran. We've not got very good camera angles, unfortunately, as Johannes goes wide and has Corey to deal with up the hill towards turn 6. Surely Corey's not going to make that one work. It's too early in the race to risk that sort of a move. And look at the contact there from Jake and from Kieran. And Jake off the road, front right puncture, and potentially in more danger of being hit by other cars. And that was him making contact with Kieran on the run towards turn 7, and the puncture being why he probably ran into him a second time. I wouldn't have thought that was on purpose, as he pits at the end of lap 1. He may have been okay if the front right didn't puncture, but if you've got a puncture, you've got to pit, and that's already him very much on the back foot.
Wing damage flailing everywhere there in turn 6. It just allows Corey to make up one more position off the start, and he's just got past Kieran on the straight into turn 1 as well. So Corey, I believe, because of the orders messed up, is up to P5, having a good go of it so far on the controller. As was it Jamie Wright who led lap 1? Fantastic.
Yes.
Good going from him. Maybe he can match the wins record today. He's held it for 5 years nearly. And it was overtaken the other day by Jake O'Sullivan, but Tony Kirkpatrick looking down the neck of Jamie Wright starts to put the pressure on him here on lap 2. Back to Owen Wyatt.
And of course we're going to get DRS from the next lap onwards, and so we'll see how that affects things. We saw here in the season 10 race a very exciting battle, didn't we, where basically the whole field was able to be glued together by the DRS, and we saw a solid 8 or 9 laps of consistent back and forth. That'll be on some of the drivers' minds, I would have thought, as we start lap 3. 3 DRS zones as we lose Michael Akeke out of the final corner, or is he still going? He's certainly had a spin, but I don't see much damage on the car. Again, we've got no good camera angle, so we'll move back to the fight for P1 as Jamie Wright, desperate to win a race this season. He hasn't won since season 7. Johannes coming through on Ben Shaw. He fancies never win this season, and he's up to P3. Corey Dalton, he would love to win 6 this season. But we've got the fight for the lead happening, and on the inside Tony has to back that one off, and that'll put him under pressure now from Johannes. He's on the softs, only man in the top 3 that is, and Corey will be the next one on softs behind, so those two you'd expect them to cycle towards the front, but Corey always into the back of Ben. Very different lines these guys are taking through the middle sector, but Corey with so much confidence. Johannes and Tony just have to hold station as they head towards turns 9 and 10. And moving at the inside of 9, that's something that you do as a very much last minute move.
Oh, Corey's gone for a spin, he's out! It's game over! And the record will stand at 5 race wins in a regular season as he ties Kyle Smith. Corey out on controller. This could be like this for a few more weeks, Owen, as well.
He was pushing hard as well. We mentioned his different lines, and he must have just gone a little bit too hard into turn 10. Once again, though, we see a car crashing out and no safety car for it. We are seeing, though, some mandatory stops. This is exactly what the likes of Ben Harrett would have been looking for. Florian's into the pits as well, and this, as we go back green again, let's actually check and see if Johannes had a jump. He did get a jump. He's on the inside of Tony, and you'd expect Tony to let this go. Different compound tyre. And up to second place goes Johannes. But yeah, this is Florian onto hard. That's the Joker strategy. He may be able to change those tyres later on. He doesn't probably care about the bonus points, but the point is he can pit whenever he wants in this race. Those hards, if he gets a chance, he'll turn them into some mediums or softs. Depends what point in the race we get another stoppage. But Johannes on those softs, you'd expect him to be straight past Jamie Wright. Nice, and I wonder if Jamie's going to let him go towards turn 1. No, Johannes is the one who backs off. Good thinking, because if he got through there into turn 1, Jamie would have just come straight back past. But I would be not at all surprised to see that invite Tony back into it. What's the tactic towards turn 3? Are we going to see a bit more DRS chicken? Looks to me like it was Jamie Wright who was behind on the DRS detection point. He should get it on the exit. That should hold him ahead. His DRS is flashing, but he's not opened it up. On the graphic, he has DRS. I don't know if he's not realised, but Jamie Wright, he had DRS, but he's lost the race lead. He didn't open it, Jacko.
Yeah, unbelievable scenes there from Jamie. I was just more in awe at the fact we had a race on our hands here. Great stuff from Johannes, though, as he's being really aggressive here, getting to the front of the field and putting his car in the exact right places. Jamie Wright, though, he's still got life in that old pair of hands of his, if you will. Throwing the car left and right, which is Jamie Wright of old, always used to be so aggressive, but he's lost the race lead here on lap 5. Johannes leads a lap, and I think and hope that we get plenty more racing to come, as is now Tony starting to look at the back of Jamie, as he has just dropped Ben Shaw a little bit on that last lap. Leroy, by the way, running very well in P5.
Indeed, he's holding on to the back of these guys, and with those softs, he may even be looking at moving forward, so we'll definitely keep an eye on him. I think Tony's got to pass Jamie soon here, because I do fear that Jamie's pace is just not good enough here to hold on to Johannes, and I suppose you'd expect that because of the tyre difference, but I think Tony might suspect he's quicker. Obviously, he was half a second quicker in qualifying, but that is, well, maybe not half a second, but he was quicker anyway by a couple of tenths. That was in wet conditions, but I think Tony will fancy his chances in race trim, and they don't want to let Johannes break out of DRS, but at the moment that is what is happening. The softs will drop off, it's bound to happen, but you want to stay in touch for as long as possible so that when they do fall off, you can take advantage. And Tony, he's got so much more ERS than Jamie Wright, as Johannes also blew all his to set the fastest lap of the race. So yeah, I'd be looking at Tony as still probably the stronger driver in this top 3. Whether he uses the ERS to pass Jamie Wright or not, or will he just sit back, we'll find out. But yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on the usage of his ERS. Elsewhere, there are other battles going on. Mike Kettleboard's on the back of a 2-car three-car fight now, with Gareth Hall leading, Risky and himself, but Baz is fighting away as well for the top, he's 11th actually, sorry, I thought it was top 10, but he's still fighting with Robin, who's on a set of softs, and Dustin just behind these two, and down the inside goes Robin. Good fair racing,
Baza.
Possibly too fair from Baza, who gave so much room, he just ran clean off the road. But, by the way, has Florian been in the pits again? Because he's 11.5 seconds behind Jake O'Sullivan now. Was he in the pits twice and wondering? I'm just going to check. No, he's only had the one stop under the VSC.
Yeah.
Wonder if he's had a moment or something, because I'm surprised he's that far behind, to be honest. Obviously, he pitted with Ben Howard. Maybe it was just a big gap, but obviously he's a joker, so he does need a safety car to get back into any sort of contention here.
Absolutely, and of course the hards are notoriously bad around here on this game, as Tony takes P2. In fairness to Jamie Wright, really, he hasn't lost that much time either, not even half a second, so maybe Tony can try and get back at Johannes here, as the softs will fade away, the mediums will come into their own, but that is a battle for race lead, as Ben Shaw is now looking a bit more interested in what could be a podium position for him. And again, Leroy still in P5. It's going well at the front of the grid. Just the one retirement so far. That's Corey Dalton. 18 cars left around here in Austria, and it's lap 8. Johannes leads the way.
We did see as well Risky there getting past Gareth. Right now, Gareth's doing more than enough to get into the playoffs, by the way. On points, as is Pete Knighton. They're both in the top 8. That is comfortably enough. They're both ahead of Mike Keltlborn. And even with Risky being ahead of Gareth, he's currently, he's 17 points behind Gareth, so it'll take a race win basically for him to jump up ahead. So yeah, looking pretty good really. If you're Pete or Gareth heading towards the playoff campaign as it stands. Robin has caught up to Yuri in the 5 for P10. Which didn't take long, but he's already put it in the wall on the exit of turn 3, so they're still struggling for traction rounds here. Similar to what we saw with Corey when he put it in the wall. I'd not be at all surprised to see Corey be, well, not the only one to put it in the wall today. There'll be more. I did as well ask before the race if we're going to see any rain because it looked very gloomy, and it still does, but there is no rain to come, so they know they're on a dry strategy. And Johannes still stretching that lead a little bit, isn't he? He's actually been able to regenerate some ERS as well. He's only got about a 20% advantage over Tony here, but he's doing really well on these softs.
It sure is. I was just watching him as well before you come across, and I was watching how easy he was making it look. Just so smooth through the corners. He's not under any stress or dramas from behind. Nice 2-second gap for Johannes. Looking good for him as OKK picks up a penalty. But the battle behind him is starting to heat up. Jamie Wright has not lost ground to Tony, and he's still bringing Ben Shaw with him. I wonder if these guys are just waiting for the inevitable moment that when Johannes' tyres do go. But since I started speaking about Tony and Jamie, he's found 3 tenths on this lap as Johannes. So, like I say, just now going well for the German as he seeks a 3rd win this season.
Good scrap this for P10 with Robin and with Yuri, and it looks like Robin is coming out on top for now because they've certainly been fighting hard. No, that was Mike. What's happened there? Is he lagged out or what? Because he just sort of spawned in the middle of the track then, and he's now behind these two. How bizarre! Did you see that? That was
I saw. Yeah,
that was very odd. Oh, he nearly loses the rear end as well. Oh, I hope we're not about to lose Mike here because that's well, he's already almost a pit stop behind. In fairness, 16.3 seconds, but for his Joker, he needs to be getting up into the points to get him, or into the higher points, I should say. You know, realistically, be on the podium if he wants to be in the playoffs. But yeah, that's an odd moment. But he's still in the race, which is lucky because I mean, if you get spawned in the middle of the track, you could easily end up just being wiped out by someone.
Yep. Just going down the order to Kieran. You said in qualifying he has good pace. Yellow flag for Ben Harrop, and he will recover. But yeah, you said in qualifying Kieran has good pace. OKK's in the wall now, and Kieran's only in P14 now, and so
having been a pit stop. As we see Leroy making a pit stop, we'll see. Actually, we'll see if Kieran's anywhere near Leroy because that'll give us a good idea of where he is. But he pitted probably during the VSC, did he? I don't actually know, but maybe a lap after the VSC. Let's see where Kieran actually
looking lively, by the way.
Is. Yeah, we have a quick look at him. Although it's DRS on DRS, it'll be difficult for Ben to make any overtakes happen. But yeah, we weren't really paying any attention to Kieran Worry because he is actually going to find himself around sort of 5 seconds, maybe a tad bit less than that, behind Leroy. So yeah, he has lost a bit of ground as Leroy comes out the pits behind Dustin. It's going to cost him time, possibly trying to make an undercut work. He'll get some DRS, but he needs the clean air more than anything, and he's going to get that now. But yeah, about 5 seconds behind is Kieran. So yeah, don't really know what happened to him, to be honest. Because an early pit stop's one thing, but that would suggest he's had some sort of issue on track.
Washed. Johannes pits.
Yes.
So now we're really going to see what happens.
And he gets it slowed down for the pits as well. So clean looking stop so far for the man. He took full advantage of those softs. Clean overtakes to take the lead of the race. Tony now has that lead. And we'll see if Jamie Wright can do anything about him. He's pretty low on the RS again compared to Tony, so if any challenge does come, I would have thought Tony would have enough in his arsenal to defend it. As Johannes comes out of the pits just in front of Yuri. Now, if he fancies helping Tony out, he may fancy passing Johannes here, but I don't think he's close enough. He may have had a chance, did Yuri, but I don't think he would have quite been able to make anything happen. It would have been quite irresponsible. As much as we like to say anything goes, that would have been possibly a bit, yeah, silly. The question I've got now is how long are these medium runners going to go? Because, I mean, you can pit on this lap. I mean, there's nothing stopping them. But obviously, you may want to get a little bit more of these tyres. But I wouldn't expect them to be out for much longer than, say, lap 16, 17. Maybe try and win the first stage, then pit.
Absolutely. I was just about to say, though, Johannes is flying already. Fastest Sector 2 of anybody so far. And catching up to the back of Gareth at a rapid pace of knots. Pace of knots, is that correct?
Rate of knots, maybe.
Rate of knots. So I knew there was an English word there somewhere. But yeah, Gareth's struggling behind Sullivan, and Johannes is reeling him in.
Indeed, as we see Gareth again, just happy to sit behind Risky here. That might make life a bit difficult for Johannes, because again, they may be trying to help Tony to have the lead of this race once pit stops are over, but we'll find out. Again, we don't know how long everyone's going to be out for. Is that a two-car incident with Jake and Dustin? It is indeed. That's going to be a virtual safety car. Now, both of those cars have broken front wings. Surely you just bite the bullet in pits here if you're on mediums. I mean, they're right at the pit lane entry, and this is going to be terrible news for Johannes. I do wonder if Mike Kelterborn may fancy taking his Joker stop here as well, though he is on mediums, so maybe he can't really make the pit stop. It's too early. But top three have certainly come into the pits. VSC's tend not to last too long, so I wouldn't actually be surprised to see this VSC end before they come out of the pits, and indeed it has just ended. And they're all pitting for more mediums. And look at that, Jimmy Wright had to stack with Tony. Oh, that's terrible luck. And he's on softs. So that would have been a really aggressive chance for him. But here's the fight. As we see Johannes ahead of Yuri, ahead of Tony, and the gap, it's almost increased actually. And look at this, Mike Kelterborn, this is fourth position through the middle of Tony and Yuri. Wow, brilliant stuff. And like I say, that's for genuine position on this Joker strategy. Look at Johannes all over the back of Gareth Hall. He was really hoping he'd be ahead of these two by now, but the VSC's held him back, and Gareth broke so deep into turn 4 to try and hold him back, but he may not be able to do for much longer. Oh, does he send it back on the inside? Yes, he does. Gareth Hall trying to help Tony out and help himself out really in the race. He doesn't want to detach himself from Risky, but he's had to let Johannes go. Johannes, who, let's say, has seen his lead increase under that VSC. That's just how much of an advantage. Look at that, Mike nearly glitched into the front of Tony's car. That's a real issue to desync on his car there. That could have been Tony out of the race.
Yeah, here we go. Sullivan leads a lap, but Johannes is the man with all the pace. He's got Gareth. Can he get round Sullivan? He will get DRS this time by. Poor exit from Sullivan. Johannes to the left. It's going to put Risky on the inside on the run up to turn 1. Out of VRS. And of course, Mr. Lewis is going to squeeze him to way to get through. Can he cut back underneath? Bit of a kick out, and that will be job done for Johannes Mellers of Germany. Back to the race lead, but here comes Risky. What will he do? Around the outside? No, not this time.
Well covered that by Johannes to stay on the inside. It may have been tempting to move over to the racing line, but yeah, I think he knew Risky may try and attack, especially with the lack of ERS that Johannes had. It's a shame that Risky couldn't play a bit more sort of chicken there to try and, one, sort of halt his progress, but also maybe get Gareth in the mix as well, just to try and distract things. But still, Tony is going to be in DRS next, and I would have thought this would be a much easier move for him to make on his two teammates. We'll find out.
Jake O'Sullivan getting lapped.
Yes, it's just not been his day, has it? I mean, he had the incident. He's had 2 incidents in this race, 2 broken front wings. He's in the pits now to change a 3rd broken front wing. So, yeah, just not really his day this so far. And Tony, he's ahead of Gareth. And he'll have DRS as well to get past Risky. And I would have thought he'd let him go on this straight. And he will. And we have a yellow flag. Not sure what for. I don't think anyone's actually happening there, to be honest. But we've gone green again. 1.7 is the gap now between Johannes and Tony, which should mean Johannes will win the stage at the end of this lap. Tony will not catch that gap up in time. And as long as Johannes keeps it all pointing in a straight line, it'll be the stage for him. Incidentally, with all this going on, this will pretty much be confirming 2nd place as well in the regular season, if Johannes cares, really. But with Jake at the back a lap down, he's not going to be able to get back into this race.
It's only a couple of points, but what's a couple of points? There's another one. Stage win, Johannes, and also Owen, off topic. Amazing what happens when Corey retires from the race. Highest viewing figures of the season. 11 people have currently tuned in to watch this regular season finale. Johannes leading the way halfway through. Next stage comes at lap 27. the drivers who are not on Jokers can pit from lap 28 onwards. And we have Tony, by the way, reeling Johannes in. He's found 0.6 of a second in the last lap. He is a man on a mission. Tony Kirkpatrick, what can he do with it? Fresh mediums, 2 laps newer than the man in front. I think we have ourselves a little battle brewing right here.
Yes, the ERS levels are relatively level between these two now as well, which is interesting. Obviously, Tony had more at a certain point in time, and in fairness, just a lap and a half ago, Johannes is alright. He's just used more of it now to try and hold Tony out of DRS range for the start of the next lap, and I think it might have just worked. Will Tony perhaps just burn what he has left to get within a second? Will he need to? He's already within a second, and the DRS detection point is there. So Tony has DRS. And Gareth, I think, just letting Ben Shaw through. He'll get himself a bit of DRS for his troubles, so there's still a little bit of intrigue there with the speed boys. I would be surprised if they do anything stupid. Jamie Wright is fighting for position here with Leroy. Obviously Jamie getting held up in the pits behind Tony, but on those softs he gets through. Next for him is Pete Knighton. Also just want to say a lovely welcome back to all the viewers, especially if you come from the Dua Lipa fan club. We haven't mentioned you for a few weeks, but obviously the Dua Lipa fan club may still be here, so hi, etc. Nice to have you. But you're watching Tony Fitzpatrick here trying to fight Johannes Mellers for the lead of the race, and that's something we've not been able to say once. I don't think we've seen these two fight for a race lead yet, because they're like, for goodness sake, as Johannes gets a penalty, it's fine. They're still fighting on track, but yeah, it's either, I don't think these two have actually come across each other for the lead of a race yet, so this will be interesting to see. A potentially new dynamic. I could be making that up, but I would be very surprised if we had seen it before. I feel like I would have remembered it.
Certainly not in JACKOCAR that I can recall. Also, #1 fan of the Dua Lipa fan club is Arnoud de Grief there in the comments. Welcome, Arnoud. We'll see more of you in the postseason. But for now, attention turns to the lead of the race then. Tony inside 0.4 of a second to the man with a penalty. We'll try and big it up despite the penalty, because a move for the race lead, win it on track, would be what Tony wants to do here. 1 win in 12 starts in JACKOCAR. Can he make it 2 tonight? The part-timer looking to become a full-timer. Still sits behind Johannes halfway round the lap. But it is brewing. It's coming. And what will Ben Shaw think? He's 4.6 seconds back, but if these two tangle, an unknown, Ben Shaw could be looking at a 14th career win. But time will tell, as we have 16 laps to go in Austria.
So then, 3 DRS zones a lap. It should make this a pretty easy move, and Johannes has gone off the track again on turn 1's exit, and that'll be another guaranteed warning. So I think Tony, he'll be taking all the confidence that anyone could possibly ever need here. And he's now also got about 20% more ERS again. He's been able to build that gap up. So I think he's able to control this from here. He may not even fancy making the overtake. I know that's a bit boring to say, but if he can sit behind in the DRS, make his ERS by... He'll probably plateau around sort of 80, 90. Then he'll have full control of this thing, regardless of what happens, really. Mike, by the way, recently just made his pit stop. He's had to go on to the hards, so that's what I was worried about. Would a Joker driver have to go to hards? Both of them have. But Mike is now going to the end of the race. It has to be said, if he gets a safety car, but before lap 28, nothing's stopping him from pitting again and putting a set of softs on. And then he'd be right on the back of the pack, or right in the middle of the pack, and they'd all still have to pit. So, I know he's only 11th now, but he's got no penalties, and if he gets a safety car at the right time, Mike could still be a feature in this race. But up at the front, the real feature, as we see Johannes defending on the inside of turn 3, and Tony taking a very calm and composed exit there. He was risking nothing, but he's burning the ERS now that he's just spent all that time saving up, and it's not enough as he goes off track as well in the entry to turn 3. Not enough there to make the move work on Johannes, and I think that was was sort of badly conceived, that sort of move there from Tony. I think he'd be disappointed with that, as we see Risky coming through on Robin. But yeah, that was a weird one, that from Tony. I wonder why he did that, because he didn't need to use the ERS yet.
Maybe he's just eyeing Johannes up, see what would happen if a move were to come. Tony, he's not stupid, believe it or not. I know the name would suggest otherwise. But here he goes again then, lap 23. Closer than ever then, as we head in towards turn 1. Johannes still leads this thing. Tony P2, Ben Shaw, recent penalty, he's P3. Soon to come under pressure from Jamie Wright, but the run-up then towards turn 3. Tony to the outside, Johannes on the inside. What happens here? Johannes breaks late. There's a little bit of contact, but they get away with it, and Johannes retains the lead. Penalty for Sullivan Lewis further down the grid. Tony surely to the inside of turn 4 this time around. What does he do? Nothing. He's boring, and he's going to make us wait another lap.
Interestingly, there into turn 3, neither driver was ahead on that DRS section point. Again, neither of them opened it. It wasn't like Jimmy Wright earlier where the light was on for them to open it. Just none of them seemed to have it. That can happen if you're just so close the game can't decide who's ahead. But that was Johannes locking up into turn 3. He wasn't doing that on purpose, I don't think, to hit Tony. I was on board. He did just lock up. So hopefully there's no needle there between those two, although we wouldn't mind a little bit of needle. As up
it would
towards
actually
turn
put
1.
Jamie Wright in the picture, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would indeed. Jimmy
with the
doing
Ben Shaw
well.
penalty.
Doing well with no penalties. And if he can stay that way, with the way these two are fighting, like I say, I think Tony being off at turn 4, the entry to turn 4 a couple of laps ago, so if he makes that mistake one or two more times, he could find himself with a penalty himself. And then, as you say, Jimmy Wright will be in the picture. But DRS again for Tony this time. Nothing is going to happen. And just in the quick intermission between DRS zones, I just want to check Tony's warnings. Did he actually get one for that off moment? He did. So he has 2 warnings. One more, he has a penalty.
That would even it up. It would spice it up as well, wouldn't it? It'd be a straightforward fight between these two. And of course, Ben Shaw, if he can bring that gap back down, it certainly does put Jamie Wright back in the picture on his softs. We're only a few laps away from making the second mandatory stops. Another penalty, this time for Florian. Poor entry into the final corner for Johannes, but Tony followed him. So he's a little bit further back this time. Another lap passes, another visit to turn 1, and it's the same story once again. Ever since lap 20, these two have been 1 and 2 and fighting over the lead.
Just was looking down the field a little bit there as well. Obviously, Kieran has actually made another pit stop. So yeah, whatever's happening to him, his race isn't going particularly well. But he's actually got Jake O'Sullivan for company, so that's just how far behind Jake is. That's a Jake a lap down he's got for company, I think. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame really for him. Obviously, he's been through 3 front wings today. Has Jake, and obviously the initial incident was with Kieran on lap 1, so it is funny that those two have come back together. But up at the front, very much just running their race. It's impressive actually that they've got less penalties than they have, because this is a track which is very easy to pick penalties up on, which is where we may see Tony sort of fall foul here, because he may think he has the lead, but he's just gone wide again at the final corner, and if you just go that little bit too far wide, it will be another penalty given out like that. Easy. We saw it in real life as well. It's so easy as we have Pete Knighton out of the race.
Massive.
If that puts a safety car out, that is a massive moment for Mike Kettleborn. But guess what? Nothing's happening. Why? Oh, it's so frustrating for us in the commentary box, but also it's frustrating for Mike. And I'll tell you why this is. Lap 26. He would have been able to pit.
Safety car!
But he's gone past the pits. But luckily, he still can make the pit stop. The problem here... Well, no, it may not be a problem.
Position.
The problem actually isn't a problem. Because, yeah, there's a sentence. Because I believe the safety car will come in at the end of lap 28. Which means I can't really follow it in, these guys. Which is when, of course, you pit. Mike has a penalty now, which is worth pointing out, but he can pit under the safety car. Again, he doesn't care about. He doesn't care about the bonus points. He doesn't care, right? No one does. They're nice to have if you're one of the top runners, but if you're in a Joker situation and you need the points, you don't care about the bonuses. As long as you finish in the podium or whatever you need, at the minute, what Mike would need, they both had a second place this season, hasn't he? So let's just be simple and say that if Mike finishes 4th or better in this race, he will knock Pete Knighton out of the playoffs. But he's staying out.
He's staying out.
Or, well, okay, we didn't see that illegal pit entry.
No.
What illegal pit entry?
And I'll tell you what, Owen, before you continue, Jake O'Sullivan and anybody watching this, that counts as committed to pit lane. We are not taking this away from Mike Kelterborn. I've said it on stream. If he converts this into a victory, there was nothing wrong with that pit entry.
It's crucial that it doesn't need to be a victory. We'd love it to be a victory, but this does not need to be a victory for Mike Kelterborn. He has taken advantage of the Joker. I don't think the safety car will be in this lap.
What does Florian do? He pits.
Florian, of course, gets the same opportunity. He does need to win the race, but he's obviously a long way behind. We'll see what his pace is like once we get back to green. But yes, if Mike can keep this clean, I'll keep reiterating this as OK goes very wide at turn 1. He will be able to catch up to the pack because the safety car is not coming in this lap. The field will not be allowed to pit at the end of lap 28, so that means they have to pit at the end of lap 29, which gives them 7 laps to catch up to Mike. He'll be on softs like everyone else will, and we'll see what they can do. But like I say, as long as Mike finishes 4th or better, it's playoffs because that gives you 13 points. He needs to be a point ahead of Pete because they both have a second place. They both have one playoff point. I mean, it's all just very much they're equal essentially. So this will be simple. I don't actually know what happens if they finish equal. Maybe it'll go down to best finish after second. I'm sure Jacko has the stats anyway.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Most seconds, most thirds. Well, it's actually most wins first, and then obviously down the order.
Just out of curiosity, if they were to finish equal on points, which would need Mike to finish 5th for that to happen, how would it be done with a tiebreaker? Because I know they both have 1 second place, but what's their best finishes after that?
Give me a handful of seconds, I'll have an answer for you. So, Pete Knighton has a P2, Mike Kelterborn has a P2, and then Mike's best finish after that is 2 7th places. Pete Knighton also has 2 7th place finishes, but I've totally disregarded the fact that Pete Knighton finished P4 in Belgium. So Pete Knighton would advance in the event of a tiebreak.
Which means that Mike does have to finish in the top 4 then. So that makes it pretty easy to work all this out. Is this safety car going to come in as well, by the way? Because Florian is so far behind the pack.
It's going to work to his advantage.
It is going to work to his advantage, and it's going to work to these guys' advantages as well, because everyone will get to take a safety car pit stop.
Johannes pits.
They all get a pit.
Yeah.
Mike will still lead the race, but he won't have a gap. That's the important thing here. So that makes his job a lot more difficult. It has to be said, but it's fair. You're allowed to lead the race, and that's a massive break for everyone here. Saying that, there's going to be more stacking. Poor Jamie Wright is having to take another long pit stop. It's happened to him twice in this race. These lot will all be in for softs, by the way. This is a softs all the way to the finish, and this does have the makings of a very exciting finish. I'm also... Oh, come on.
Oh, Jake.
I was about to say... I was about to point out that Jake had been able to unlap himself. I thought he was able to find a way to do it, but unfortunately... he wasn't. He just did it illegally. Goodness sake. I was about to be excited there for him, but no. I hoped he would be back in the race, but he's not.
Regardless then of what Johannes does, providing he doesn't get disqualified, Johannes will win the club card shootout. No, he won't. He'll win the race to P2 as the extension of the club card shootout. So it's actually Jamie Wright versus Kieran in the club card shootout. At the moment,
Jamie's
being
winning quite comfortably, I think, for today. But
yes, but Kieran's won the last 2, so there's a big old gap between those 2.
If Jamie Wright's lack of penalties stays consistent to the end of this race, Kieran's 15th.
Owen, Owen, this is set up beautifully, isn't it?
I know, for once.
Classic JACKOCAR around Austria. We'll treat this as our 5th birthday. 5th broadcast birthday. It's going to be Mike Kelterborn to lead us away. here on lap 29. We've been waiting for this all season.
I know. Here we go.
You, Corey Dalton. Owen Wyatt, it's all you.
There's no guarantee, by the way, that this is the last safety car. There could be a lot of action here toward the end of this race. I think Mike may not mind another safety car, as long as he's not the one that causes it. But as he comes around the final corner, he will lead the field to green. It is a good restart. There has already been an accident behind as we see JACKOCAR and Leroy coming together, and some penalties being dished out for that. Yuri's already coming through on Florian, a few cars wide at turn 1. Robin trying to stick his nose at the inside. There are Florian as well, who's, again, there legitimately on his Joker and trying to score a high position. He needs to win the race, though, if he wants to get into the playoffs. He may not be fast enough to stay there, though, so I think if he just gets a fair chunk of points, he may be happy enough. Kieran fighting away as well in the midfield. Leroy's got such a massive amount of front wing damage. He's going to have to pit at the end of this lap, but there's just no way you can continue with this. Mike has held on to the lead. Jimmy Wright down in 9th, but again, with no penalties, he should be able to find his way back up the order, assuming he doesn't get any penalties from here on in. We'll keep an eye on Tony as well. He needs to stay penalty free too. But when it comes to Mike staying in 4th place, well, he stayed in 1st place so far. We'll see how DRS affects things if we even get to that point, because Johannes, he's quick, but he blew his whole allocation of ERS on that lap. You saw him derating up to the line, so he's pushing hard here. As is Mike, as is Tony. They're all blowing their ERS. It's like the last lap of the race. There's still 6 to go after this. Don't want to blow it all too early. It can really come back to bite you at the end of this, but Mike, he's holding on. The 2-time race winner in JACKOCAR. He won in Baku in Season 1. He won in Canada in Season 7. He needs to defend hard here to hold on to what would be a 3rd win today, and he's held on the inside of turn 4, but he'll lose it now. Surely on the run towards turn 5 and 6. Wheel binding for the race lead, and Mike Kelderborn's not going to lie down, but surely he's going to have to relent. As we see Johannes brilliantly taking the lead on track, and now off the road goes Mike as well. He's broke the front wing, unfortunately for him, and it's big damage as well. That could be Pete Knighton's key to the playoffs, and he didn't have to fight that hard, did he? At least not break your front wing, but he has broken it. He could still finish in the top 4. Some drivers may prefer to face Mike Kelterborn in the playoffs, and that's not me being cynical. The drivers do consider who they want in the playoffs at this stage, and if these guys work out that Mike Kelterborn could be in the playoffs, they may just let it happen despite the front wing damage. But look at the move. I know, he's moving all over the show on that straight. That hasn't really worked at all. As Risky, who also needs a very high point score. If Risky can get onto the podium here, if Risky can get P3, that would give him enough points to go level as a yellow for Jimmy Wright, perhaps. That'll give him enough points to go level with Pete Knighton, but he would need to finish 2nd, I believe, as he goes up the inside. What a move! What a move! I can't believe it from Risky there. Wow. That was so tight. But Risky, currently P3, I think he would need to be 2nd to overtake Pete Knighton and get into the playoffs, because again, I don't think he's been on the podium this season, has he? So that's also worth keeping an eye on. But look at the fighting here. Jamie Wright coming up alongside Ben Shaw. He doesn't really care what happens. He's got no penalties. He spines a 2nd place here if he can get it, at least, maybe even higher. Tony, again, he's just staying where he is, isn't he? As long as he doesn't get any penalties, he's going to win the race. But what can they do about Risky? They've done it before here in Austria, where they've been able to sort of manufacture a result for Risky. It may need to happen again if he is to get into the playoffs. Because right now he's missing out on a tie-break, which is a shame for him.
Yeah, but they will be communicating that name in front of Tony is Speed, and if Tony can get himself in front of Johannes on track, I do wonder if he would slow down Johannes to manufacture a win for Sullivan Lewis again here in Austria that we saw 5 years ago. There.
So many cars having accidents. I do wonder if we may see a safety car again, because Florian's gone way off the road. He's done so much damage to the car. But we're staying green as Mike picks up another penalty. And we see Ben Shaw into the pit. Yeah, I know. let's not get into that argument. As although we may actually agree on it. Never do that again, NASCAR. Disgrace. But anyway, this is Mike's fighting incredibly hard here. It's a shame he's picked up another penalty, because the 4th place may still happen, actually, but he's just, with the penalties he's picking up, it's just looking less and less likely, which is why we've moved our focus onto Sullivan Lewis. But yeah, as you say, Jimmy Wright's about to pass him, isn't he? So, yeah, I think after all this potential excitement, Gareth Hall actually has no penalties. He could end up on the podium. Mind you, it would require a lot of penalties, but actually Gareth Hall's well in to the playoffs here. There's nothing to worry about for him. Even if he were to crash out now, I think he's got a big enough gap, but he's going to finish this race with potentially his best finish of the season, as we see Jimmy Wright going past Risky. He's just going to hold on to what he has, I think. See what happens later on. 2 to go. Doesn't look like Tony's going to do anything.
Yeah, Risky let Jamie go there. And then thanked him on the main straight, which was nice to see. Good sportsmanship from these two. But yeah, Tony, 6 tenths behind Johannes. And I like you, Owen, I don't think it's going to happen.
I do want to actually quickly just try and work out here, just where is Gareth going to finish? I think he'll finish 4th, actually. Or maybe 5th. Maybe it's not as good as it looks, actually, with all the penalties, but it's still a decent result to take him into the playoffs, as we see Yuri and Robin fighting. Nice to see Robin up there in P6, although if his penalties he will fall. But still, he's showing good fight, as he has done all day against Yuri, it has to be said, but I believe you have something you need to say now.
Yeah, I know, and again, it happens every week. I just don't know how. But here we are in Austria, round 12, the final ever regular season. It's 1 lap to go, and Johannes leads the way. But don't forget, he has a penalty. And what can Tony Kirkpatrick do about that? All he's got to do is stay behind him, and he will win the race. But he wants to do it on track. There he goes. Almost put in the gravel. Very
playing games. He's going to take him off the road. He's taking him off the road. He wants to give him a penalty here to Johannes. And it nearly worked.
Tried his best.
It nearly worked, but we're not done yet. Risky and Jimmy Wright are fighting as well, and Jimmy's off the road. This could affect the playoffs. Will Tony just back it off? I think it makes sense to back it off, but will Johannes let him? Is there going to be any other opportunities to have Tony off the track? Johannes needs Tony to get a penalty if he wants to get the race win for himself. But he's best to into turn 3. That was about as on the border as we've seen anywhere this season. I think he's going to play fair to the end, which is, fair enough.
Let him have it now.
So Johannes, he'll cross the line first, but Tony will win here in Austria. Now, how's the podium going to look? Because we will see Jimmy Wright finish 3rd, so that is where he ends up. Risky ends up 4th. Gareth, he does end up 5th. Ben Harriott has been overtaken by Kieran, and there's a big accident across the line for a very upset Mike. Let me just quickly do some maths. So, 14 points for Jimmy Wright and 11 points for Kieran, which means Kieran does win the club card shootout. That's 10 playoff points for him. That's probably the biggest result of the day, that really, isn't it? Apart from Tony's win. And I don't know how he's managed that, Kieran, because he was 15th on that safety car restart. He's had a decent recovery there.
He was awful all day, basically. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm sure he'll agree, if anything. By the way, Robin Border, straight into chat. He says P5 on track. Good result for you, Robin.
Yeah, we mentioned him.
P8 with
very
penalties.
happy. I think he'd be very happy with that. Robin Border, who found himself, only 18th in the championship going into the stadium. He had 23 points. So I think, take another 9 points. I think he'll very much take that. He gets driver today as well. It's all good news for him. But
deserved.
It's a different winner. I can't believe it. It's Tony. I say that as a different winner. It's not like Corey won back-to-back races in the last one. It's just that we're so used to seeing him win. But he didn't feature at all today. He binned it so early on. But let's just quickly look through the order again. Tony, Johannes, Jimmy Wright, Risky, Gareth through Norway this week. Kieran, Ben Harriott, Robin, Baza, Yuri, Mike, OKK, Ben Shaw, Leroy, Florian, Dustin, and then the retirements of Pete, Corey, and Jake. Just going to confirm again that the playoff drivers being Corey Dalton, Jacob Sullivan, Johannes Mellers, Arnaud de Groof, Jimmy Wright, Kieran Spears, Ben Shaw, Yuri Hasselager, Gareth Hall, and Pete Knighton. Although, my God, they really tried to take it off him in the end, but he did just hold on there. Both Risky and Mike had realistic opportunities to do that on points. And I think Pete will be sort of, well, will he be disappointed or not? I suppose he's in the playoffs, but maybe he would have fancied a better chance in the chase. It's always the sort of debate you have in your head, isn't it? But anyway, nothing changed, so it's fine.
Yep. Tony Kirkpatrick then. He breaks a 22 race winless streak. And that, by the way, I'll correct myself from earlier. I said it was his 12th start. It was his 15th start today, and his second win. So another driver who moves on to multiple wins in the Cup Series. I would tell you how many there are, but they're all mixed in with the Kia Series drivers, and I don't have the time or the energy to work out how many that is. But what I can tell you, 6 winners in the Cup Series this season. We've never had less than 7, so one more. And then Corey can do as he wishes after that point. That's my one wish.
Well, I think we'll be able to close off on that. It is funny, actually, isn't it, really? We get to the end of this, and realistically, absolutely nothing has changed. But at least it was a fun nothing has changed, and that was a decent race to end off the last ever regular season. The last ever Tuesday race. Very sad. Very, very, very sad. We will return in March, which is actually only like a week, actually we're only away for a week, but, it's more dramatic to say we'll be back in March. We will not be racing this Thursday, it'll be next Thursday, where we will start the playoffs in Canada. We'll be in the USA for the round of 10. So it'll be Canada, Austin, the full track this time, and Mexico, where we'll see Gareth Hall drop out of the playoffs. Because, of course, we will. It's just going to happen, isn't it? The rest of the playoffs, a round of 8, will consist of Japan, Britain Short, and Russia. And then the round of 6 should be very exciting with Russia, with France Super Speedway and Monza. And then obviously our Championship 5 will be after another sort of 2-week break in Australia. But yes, from next Thursday onwards, it'll be a straight run of 8 Thursdays, and then 2 weeks off. And the last ever race on the 8th of May. It's quite a long way, really, away, isn't it, when you think about it?
It is. That 2-week break, for the viewers that are still here, that 2-week break at the end is because there is a JACKOCAR holiday happening in Portugal to celebrate the end of the league. That'll be sad as well. Although I say the end of the league, it's the end of the hybrid part of the league.
It's the end of the F1
the league is
part.
very much continuing.
The F1 part has had its time. And I think we're actually at the point now where we're not even really going to miss it. So so I don't know. Maybe that's what this season's been good for. But anyway, we're going to stop talking now, and we will return next week. So yes, enjoy the rest of your weeks. Anyone interested in Jatto Ball? I mean, I'm sure you'll hear bits and pieces about that. But we're into the final week of games before we start the playoffs there, so that'll be interesting for the MLS. Tony's probably going to win the lot, but that's just what you get when you sweat FIFA for as long as he does. So I'll complain about that a bit more in private. But yes, we'll see you here very much in public next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Cheerio. Safe travels.